Some years ago, I worked in a nightclub in a UK city. Although initially I only agreed to work several nights per week, after a while I was working 5 or 6. It sucked a bit, but my colleagues were excellent banter, and I needed the money. We were bar staff, and had to take turns venturing out to collect glasses and clean up, etc. This club was quite colourful. The type of place where furniture is bolted down and everything possible was plastic to avoid use in fights. Free entry till 3 AM every night, and buy one get one free cheap drink. Nights without fights, thieving, or people being inappropriate in various places were rare enough. You have an idea about the type of environment of this story. As the place was often chaos, even the legion of door staff couldn't be on top of everything. One night when I wasn't working, I had time to kill before meeting friends at a local bar, so I stopped by to see friends who were working. I didn't notice this guy at the time, but he must have been lurking about. Later, when the pubs shut, drunken friends wanted to keep dancing, so they dragged me back to there. I was tired, so I went to find a seat while they lurched about like idiots. There were only 3 or 4 big booths in total. Strangers often got squashed in together, as the seating was limited unless you went upstairs. Some guy moved and pointed that I could sit on the edge of the booth. I figured he was just being polite, so I said thank you. I sat on the edge of the booth with my back to him, watching my drunken fools on the floor. He kept trying to talk, but it was loud, and I wasn't interested in conversation. He was much older than me, middle-aged, Indian or Arabic man, and I was 19. At this stage, I should say, I have some difficulties when interpreting people's tone and expressions. I find social things awkward and struggle with anxiety. Recently, my counselor wants me tested for autistic tendencies. I just wanted to clarify that maybe I missed some indications, or didn't react as I should have. It has been known to happen. It was getting late and my friend fell on his arse, and so it was decided the time had come to go home. Nothing untoward happened at this point. The trouble started not long after, however. I start seeing this guy in the club often when I'm working. Maybe I didn't notice initially. Many people come and hang around frequently. But I start to notice him. He's there nearly every night. At first, he is lurking just in a dark corner on the opposite side from the bar, staring. Then he's sitting in a booth, staring. Eventually, he is standing in front of my till for extended minutes, just staring at me. Not ordering, just staring. I tell him to move. He is obstructing the customers, so he steps to one side and keeps staring. Every time some colleagues come near, he melts away into the crowds. This happens again and again. I look up and find him there. I learned afterwards from other staff that on nights I didn't work, he was there harassing other barmaids, asking where I am, information about me, all sorts. He told them he was my classmate or my friend visiting from another place. Some idiot actually gave him my email address, and he starts emailing me in all capital letters, very bad English, telling me how I am his one and only rose, love of his life, the princess in his heart. All this very weird shit. I ignored the emails and tried to think what I should do. Not having a car and my bike being stolen, I had to walk to and from work. One night, I stopped at a 24-hour shop near my flat, and when I came out, he was there. He started trying to make conversation and tailing me to my building. I didn't know how I could get rid of him. I was rude actually on purpose. He laughed. Instead of my building, I went to the next one and pretended it was my place. He started on about a goodnight kiss, and I refused. He tried to back me into a corner and kiss me. I panicked and turned my head. He more or less missed, but I could feel his breath on me. I jumped sideways and got through the door, but I had to promise to reply to his emails to get him to go away. Spent a long time in that stairwell before I went to my own building. That freaked me out, but I didn't know what to do. I didn't have many close friends, no partner. My family weren't in the same country, and I don't talk about much with them anyway. My flatmate was rarely home, and we had a difficult relationship. I talked only with her when there was no choice. I should have called the police, but I was distrustful. Didn't feel I could go to my boss, supervisor, as they were very harsh, and I didn't communicate well with them. He didn't do anything for a while except pelt me with emails and Yahoo messages. I did warn my flatmate to be on the lookout for anyone skulking. Things went more or less back to normal. I didn't see him and began to forget about it. Work went on, studying went on. My flatmate and I kept falling out. One night when she had come home, we fought, and I decided I would go to the club to get away from her. I could sit at the end of the bar and have a beer, talk to my workmate while she was working on glasses, etc. I did not see him, but something happened. My colleagues saw me have 2 beers. I felt fine, and seemed fine to them. About 11 p.m., I left, feeling tired. Though I don't remember it. Colleagues, CCTV. I have no idea what happened next. I think I went to the local folk club for a while. I last remember walking in that direction. Next thing I know, I wake up at 4 p.m. in the afternoon, covered in bruises in my flat. I felt like I was going to die. My flatmate was irate, as was the landlord. He drove there to go a bit nuts at me for insulting the neighbors. It seems that about 3:30 a.m. I showed up at the building. Eventually managed to get inside somehow. Tried to get in the wrong flat and fell down and wet myself. Flatmate was terrified as she couldn't wake me up. To this day, I don't know what happened. But I hadn't been assaulted. I was not taking drugs, and had only those 2 beers. So my assumption was that I was spiked but had gotten away from the person before they could see where I went. Having no memory of those hours was terrifying. I must have been just wandering about somewhere or passed out in a heap. I reported it to work, but the boss shrugged it off. Flatmate, etc. accepted that it wasn't my fault, but I did not feel they believed me, and I thought police would be the same. Nothing more happened for a while, but I did explicitly tell my colleagues to look out for that guy, and also that not anyone tell him anything about me. I also talked with the door staff and the new supervisor. The door staff in particular were concerned. Many female students worked there, and had to walk home. One night close to closing, I thought I saw him, but I couldn't be sure. I continued my usual routine, cleaning the bar, loading the dishwasher, brushing the floor, etc. Supervisor came to me and asked about the creepy man. Then she told me that I should not leave the building under any circumstances. He had tried to come in a little before last entry, asked the doorman about me. They denied him and told him not to return, so he apologized politely and left the premises. But they watched him. He walked down the street into an alleyway I would have to pass on my way home. 2 of the doormen were suspicious and slipped out to walk past the alley. They found him lurking there in the dark, waiting by a bin. They warned him in the strongest terms to stay away from anyone at the club, and from the entire street. Another bartender told me they beat the living daylights out of him. The supervisor took me out the back door and brought me home in her car. I quit soon after. I know now the police should have been involved, but I am just thankful that nothing worse happened. Now, I am much more tuned in and aware of what I should do, but I hope that sharing here might help people be aware of what creepy people can be around. A bit of background info. I'm a university student in the southwest of England. I currently live in a house share with 3 other girls. Only 2 of whom are here at the moment, in a somewhat dodgy area. My bedroom is the only one on the ground floor, with a back door that leads onto a small and discreet patio in the garden. It's a semi-detached, so there's houses on either sides. And there's a lane behind the gardens with no street lighting, which would have been directly in the gap. I figured I was probably just being paranoid, and ignored it. Later on, I went upstairs and noticed through the hallway window that the people we share a lack of fence with were having people over. My bedroom is on the opposite side of the house, so my patio and window wouldn't have been visible to them unless they had come into the garden and walked over. Around 2 a.m., I heard what sounded like older guests leaving, and figured that maybe someone had drunkenly wandered over earlier on. At this point, I had all my lights off and was sat in my bed with my laptop, and heard what sounded like someone shuffling around outside. I immediately closed my laptop, so my room was completely dark, and no one would be able to see anything from outside. I crawled across the floor to the window and peeked through from the very edge of the blinds on the right. There was a man crouched outside my door, trying to look through into my bedroom. I realized later that I should have made it obvious I knew he was there by yelling something at him. But at the time I was frozen solid in fear. I had absolutely no idea what to do. After a couple of minutes, he realized that he couldn't see anything with the lights off, but had the nerve to tut, and then crept away. I debated calling the police, but decided I didn't really have any information for them, so it would be a waste of their time. Needless to say, I didn't get much sleep that night, and I have no idea how long he had been watching me. I spoke to my landlord afterwards, and he's had a concrete wall put up between the garden and the alley. But the other fence with the gaps in belongs to the neighbours, whose landlord is in America and, apparently, impossible to get hold of. So currently there's still nothing securing our garden from the next doors and the lane. 2 nights ago, my boyfriend and I were in my room, sitting on my bed and watching Netflix. Since the first time it happened, I've been massively paranoid and had nightmares about it happening again. So at first I thought I might be imagining it. However, this time, I distinctly saw the upper right part of a face peering through the gap at us. He was wearing dark framed glasses. Immediately I froze and whispered to my boyfriend that I could see someone. And I definitely wasn't imagining it. And don't fucking move until we figure out how to react. He insisted that we leave the room, and I went upstairs to the landing window and saw someone walking off down the lane, but no one else in sight. Whether or not it was the same person, I'm not sure. I was quite upset that it had happened again, but thought the likeliness of him coming back twice in one night was rare, and decided to talk to my landlord in the morning. We managed to hang up a coat over the gap in the blinds, so you couldn't see through into my room at all, even with the lights on. My boyfriend had work in the morning, so he left around 11 p.m. Literally within 5 minutes of him leaving, I was stood in my room, facing away from the back door, and deciding whether to watch more Netflix or go to bed. I heard some faint scuffling sounds and 2 clicks, but tried to convince myself that it was all in my head. It occurred to me a few minutes later that the clicking sound was the noise the door handle makes when someone tries to open it and is locked. As this was dawning on me, and I was about to react, whoever was out there tried to pull my window open. It's important to note, it's a tiny window, even though I couldn't fit through it, and it's at the top, so around 5 feet from the ground. It doesn't close all the way as the latch is broken. But I have a dream catcher with wind chimes hanging off the handle inside, so as they pulled it open, the wind chimes started rattling against the window. I was terrified at this point. I'm very small and have no idea how to defend myself, and someone was actually attempting to enter my house through my bedroom. I have no idea how I summoned the courage to do it, but I whipped the blinds open and made a big deal out of slamming the window shut, then peered outside. I couldn't see anyone, so they must have run off. Straight away I called my boyfriend, who had just gotten home, who then came back and I insisted I stay at his for the night. When I spoke to my landlord the next morning, he said he was going to get motion sensor intruder lights installed, but couldn't fix the fence as it was the neighbor's landlord's property. I was still pretty freaked out, but I thought that the wind chimes rattling must have made it clear that trying to get in wouldn't go unnoticed, and the gaps had been covered so there wouldn't be any point in returning again. Last night we made a thick covering over the blinds with a bunch of jackets and coats, so there was absolutely no way anyone could see in. I triple-checked the door was locked, took the key out, and attempted to wedge the window closed. Feeling safer, we smoked a joint each, and my boyfriend dozed off a while later. Probably around midnight, or a bit later, I got up and tugged the lights off, and put the light on my phone to make my way back to bed. Feeling really paranoid still, I decided to just peek through the blinds, quickly, to confirm that there was no one out there. The light on my phone made it slightly more difficult to see, but I saw someone wearing a hoodie hunched outside. My hands were shaking, and the side of the blind balancing on the coat in the middle slipped a little, and rattled. I instantly let go and turned the light off on my phone. A few moments later, I saw a weak light coming from the other side turn off. I must have sat on the floor, not moving, and listening intently for about 10 minutes before I dared to crawl back to bed. I woke my boyfriend but didn't explain what had happened properly, so he assured me that I couldn't have seen anything, and I was probably just really baked. I spent most of the night staring at the blinds. I would have thought the wind chimes would put anyone off, but for them to come back the next night had really made me feel uncertain about what to do. I was thinking tonight I might try to set something up to see if anyone comes back. Like tying some string a few inches from the ground, across the entrance of the patio, as I'd be able to hear if anyone tripped over it. I also thought I might stay somewhere else and set my laptop webcam up to record the window all night with the screen turned off. I still haven't called the police as I still don't have much information, and I feel like it would be wasting their time. I don't know what to do in order to feel safe in my home anymore. Edit. Sorry I didn't update this before. I wasn't aware so many people were invested in hearing what happened. The past 2 nights, I hung an enormous bedsheet across the entire wall with the door and window. so there was absolutely no way anyone would be able to see in. I removed the key from the door and wedged that window shut. The first night my boyfriend stayed with me, and I nearly peeped out a few times during the night, but stopped myself, because I knew it would only make me more nervous. And last night, I was here alone, but haven't heard anything specific at all either nights. My landlord literally just came around 20 minutes ago. He's bought a massive motion sensor intruder light that's going to go on the wall directly above my door and window, and he's going to contribute some money to the next door neighbor's landlord to get a concrete wall put up to replace the broken fence. He's a really good landlord. He's very concerned about everything that's happening. He's also going to try to find a key for the broken window and see if it's just locked in that position or if it needs replacing. I'm feeling much better knowing that things are going to be sorted to prevent this from happening again. And since it's such a good place to live, despite what happened, I'm going to stay here. Though when my lease finishes, I'm going to move into one of the rooms upstairs. I'm a 27-year-old female, Asian, and an expat in the UAE. Dubai, to be more specific. Guys here seem to be more excited, in a pervy way. It annoys me. Seeing women not covered with burqas, abayas. But I swear to God, I always wear my street clothes, jeans and a long sleeve shirt, no matter how hot it gets, because, duh, so I'm still covered. I despise being stared at creepily. It annoys the shit out of me. I've been living here for almost 4 years, and for the life of me I still haven't got used to being stared at in a very unwelcoming way. I'm so curious why the guys do the shit they do here. Though you catch them staring at you, they don't look away out of embarrassment of being caught. Instead, they would continue staring as if it's okay. No offense to the guys living here, but they see women as sex objects, like you're a porn star walking the streets. Some will even lick their lips while staring at you. There was this guy who followed me to our flat. When I noticed him in the corner of my eye, I picked up my pace like a lunatic. I was so freaked out I was sick to my stomach. I could feel he's picking up his pace behind me. As I reached the entrance of our building, I pressed the elevator up. He's a little far behind me now, and I assumed he didn't see which way I took. So he'd think I used the elevator, but instead, I took the stairs and ran up, like it'll be my last leap. I could hear his footsteps as I was running up to the first floor. Our flat's on the second. When I reached our room number, I could barely insert the key right. My stomach is hurting out of fear, and I am almost out of breath. In the movies, it really happens when someone's after you, and you can't get the door open because the key fell, and you can't act straight up. I always thought it would be dramatic. Finally, I was able to open the door and shut it. I listened intently and just cried. My roommate told me I shouldn't have went home straight because he'll know which room I live in. My mistake. After that incident, I'm always vigilant. Then there's this one guy that needs a highlight. He owns a mobile phone repair shop. I pass by his shop every single day, and he probably knows me by face already. Anyway, I go into his shop for an iPad repair and left my number. I came back after a day or two, and he gave me a big discount, plus a free casing. Me oblivious to the fact that he's just done it because he likes me. When I got home later that night, I received a message from him asking if he could be my friend or if there are any mobile concerns. All I have to do is hit him up. I said, okay. What the fuck? I shouldn't have said that. Then I barely replied to his messages. I received a lot of highs, hellos, how are yous, or you look nice today and whatnot. and all he's getting from me is silence. Yet he still texts me like I replied to his messages. One night he followed me from a corner near his shop. He seems to know what road I usually take. I take a 15-minute walk to and from work. I saw him in a small intersection with a wide smile. I responded when he said hi. Don't want to be a bitch for real. He asked if he could walk with me, and I was silent for what seemed like forever. I don't want to be rude, but after the big discount he gave me, I really didn't answer him. But he walked with me anyway. The street was busy with lots of mini-marts, and it was a well-lit area too. He said he liked me the first time he saw me and all that shit. I just said, oh. I was quiet the whole time. Then here comes the dark fucking street. He's brushing his elbow to mine. I was a bit uncomfortable because very few people are taking this road. I don't know why. I was zoning out when I realized he's asking me out for lunch tomorrow, and I politely declined. He then grabbed me by the arm, and boy, was it a strong grip. I noped his freaking hand off my arm and said, "Don't touch me," in an almost screaming way. I sped walk till I reached a big intersection, and a good thing he didn't follow but kept his gaze on me when I looked to see if he had followed. The next day I was so shocked when he's by my side, standing and grinning. We were standing on a pedestrian lane, and there are lots of people since it's lunch break. I asked, I sort of yelled, "Are you following me?" I got everyone's attention. He went pale, I swear, and shook his head, left, and jaywalked. Till now, I can still feel his eyes on me, but he doesn't act on it anymore, thank God. I have to get used to the creepy stares because this is where I live now. I feel like I'm being eye-fucked every day. Hey everyone, Hellfreezer here, and thank you very much for listening to episode 40. For those of you who enjoy the paranormal videos, I'm gonna try and get one of those up this week. I'm about to send out messages, see what I can source. Hopefully I'll get some good stuff. I should also have a couple more fairy tales up this week. I'm glad they're being well received because I really am enjoying working on them. I'll be honest with you, I'm enjoying doing them more than I am the creepypastas. It's all part of me trying to expand the channel a little so that it's not just pure horror. Although, don't worry, I'm not going to stop doing the true scary stories. I enjoy them, they're the most popular thing, and I'll keep doing them for as long as people want to hear them. But I do want to look into other genres, other types of stories I can do. So if you have any thoughts or suggestions, do let me know and I'll take them on board as I look to expanding the Hellfreezer channel in the future. I'll keep trying new things out, I'll see what works, what doesn't work, I'll get rid of it and I'll try other new things. Okay, that's enough prattling from me, I think. So until next time, thank you very much for listening, and take very good care of yourselves.